And here is our leader effect. You may rest, or whoa. Here's our leader effect. Your characters come into play rested. Now that's a very interesting leader effect, never heard before. It's almost like a your leader can't attack, but that just shows you how strong the secondary effect is. That says activate main once per turn. You may rest 3 of your Dawn, set up to 1 of your Dawn from your Dawn deck as rested, then play a cost 5 or lower Odyssey type character. So we get to ramp our Dawn, we get to swing out with a bunch of bodies. They do come in rested, but they get strong effects for being rested. So I'm excited to show you how this deck strategy works. Right. To start off, we're running 4 of these Scratchman of Pooh, which just says rest up to 1 of your opponent's cost 2 or lower characters. It's a good character to have on board because sometimes we just need rested characters on board, so having a 1 Dawn option is very strong, and it actually having some kind of effect that could win you the game can also be strong as well. Running Sakazuki, this is basically our only form of removal in the deck. If you have 2 or more rested characters in play, KO up to 1 of your opponent's cost 5 or lower characters. So just having some strong removal on a 6/7, it cannot be cheated out with leader effect, but can easily hit that rested effect need. So having 2 or more rested characters is very easy. Sabo says when attacking once per turn, if you have 3 or more rested characters in play, draw 1 card. So make sure you use this in the correct order of operations, and remember that the effect only happens once, as we do have cards that restand cards, so you cannot draw multiple cards with 1 Sabo. Running the Don Quixote do Flamingo, which is a blocker, and then end of your turn, if you have 2 or more rested characters in play, set this character as active, meaning you can't really swing our board because we stand our board as active. So it kind of mitigates the leader effect, which you'll see is some of the strongest cards in the deck really help do that. So definitely need to pay attention when we have Don Quixote do Flamingo on the board. We also have Lim, which is another one that takes a specific order of operations, but to start off, it's just a non-play look at the top 5, grab an Odyssey type character, and then end of your turn, if you have 3 or more rested characters in play, set this character as active. So what happens a lot of time is we'll have this 1 cost Lim, it'll be rested. We'll have this Doflamingo, it'll be rested, and then we'll have Lim, which will be rested. This stands up any Odyssey type character, including itself. So if this needs 2 or more, this needs 3 or more, and this is 1, and this rests any up or restands any character, you have to do the effects in a specific order, being Lim to restand herself. Now we still have 2 characters rested, so then Doflamingo restands himself, which means we have 1 character rested, which would be our Lim. So make sure you do have the correct order of operations when you do your effects. We have Edward Newgate. If you have 2 or more rested characters, rest up to 1 of your opponents cost 5 or less, and then KO a rested 3 or less. So it's another form of removal, but lower end removal. It does rest characters though, which is important. We're running an L, which says if you have 2 or more rested characters, draw 3, trash 2, filtering the hand very well, as a draw 3, trash 2 is a lot of cards. So definitely liking an L as an amazing card added into the deck from OP10. Also, the Mihawk would be added in there if you have 2 or more rested characters, set up to 1 of your cost 5 or lower rested Odyssey type characters as active. So if we need to go for game, we can basically use 3 Dawn for this, put 7 Dawn on a character, swing in 13, 13, and 5. So Draco Mihawk can really just finish a game. Keep this in mind as you're going for lethal. We also have Smoker. Smoker says banish, activate main, set up to 1 of your Dawn as active. Then you cannot set up Dawn cards as active from character effects for the rest of this turn. It's a 5/7 that has banish. It's a 7k body that will be on the board, so it's hard for our opponent to swing into if we play it on curve or near curve. So keep this as a strong option in the deck, but know that is not the main piece of the deck we're looking for. Running 3 of the Namis, which is a 2k counter if you have 2 or more rested characters. Up to 1 of your opponent's rested Dawn do not become active during your opponent's refresh phase. 4 of the Lim, that just restands Odyssey type characters. 2 of this Adio promo, so you'll see we're running 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 13 2k counters in total. This is a Odyssey promo. You don't need to play this. It's very expensive right now ever since Lim did take off, so just keep that in mind. This is not necessary, but if you have 2 or more rested Odyssey type characters, specifically Odyssey type, so the other characters do not count, this character gains plus 1000 power. So again, that's another one of those small things you need to keep in mind, that certain cards, I don't think any of these do, they specifically say Odyssey type. So none of these options do, but this Adio specifically says Odyssey type rested characters. So Uso Hachi or Smoker or Apu would not count for this effect. Then we're running Uso Hachi. If you have 8 or more Dawn, rest up to 1 of your opponent's cost 5 or lower. It can just win you games, similar to a Poo. So if we need for 4 Dawn to tap down a 2 cost chump blocker and a 5 cost or lower blocker, and then go for game with the Mihawk, now we have, maybe a 9k banish swing, and then we use the Mihawk, restand it. Actually, no, this only does Odyssey. Never mind. Well, you get the idea. Okay, 9k without banish, and then 9k without banish. It's something that can happen for sure, and we can put more bodies on the board, or restand our blockers if we can't hit the, natural thing, whatever. So just some ideas to give you there with the Uso Hachi. Definitely a great 2k option in any purple deck you play. That's why it's so damn expensive. And to finish it off, we are running 3 of the top knot. Dawn -2, return up to one of your opponent's characters that cost a 4 less at the bottom of its owner's deck. I think this is a good meta call for now, but I think once we hit the EB02 format, this will definitely be filtered out of the deck. It's an interesting pick for sure, but I don't think it works in such a 5-cost heavy deck list that we're going to be going against in the future. So maybe playing Gamma Knife instead would be a better option, but it's also not the best. So keep that in mind. It's a good card, but it's not a great card. So Top Knot is definitely a replaceable option in the deck. If you don't have it, you can easily find some kind of tech choice of your own. Again, Gamma Knife or something like that. Well, that's going to be Green Purple Limb. Let's get in some games on the sim. That kind of rhymed. For our first matchup, we're going to play another ramp heavy deck right here. Going first is what our opponent chose to do, of course, because that's what they do. I think we're going to mulligan the hand. The Sakazuki just doesn't do too much in this matchup, is at least my personal belief. We'll go ahead and play down Limb and then just restand Limb. Super simple there. At least puts a body on the board for what we're going to do next turn, which is going to be our leader effect. We are able to use this Top Knot in this matchup, thankfully. And 6 at us, we will take aggressively. So now we'll be able to put the Sabo on the board here. It won't get any on-play type abilities, but we'll be able to ramp it on. So we'll just swing 6 at our opponent. They should probably take, just because that's going to put their leader effect on. Yep. And then we're going to leader effect, playing out gain 1 rested, and then playing out Sabo, pass the turn, restand Sabo. So now Sabo's safe, and then next turn we can use this now because we will have 2 more rested characters in the Sabo. It depends on our order of operations here, though. We always have different options. So they get to ramp up into 10 on their next turn. We're going to go ahead and take. We're going to take. I'm cool with taking. I know that might seem crazy, but what we're going to do here is tap 3 to play down Limb, search the top cards of the deck. We're gonna go ahead and grab a Newgate that's gonna help with the chump blockers. Not that we already have one. I don't think it really mattered in that position. We're gonna go ahead and swing in with the 0 power Limb here, and then we're gonna swing in with the Sabo to be able to draw 1 card, 1 additional option in the hand. We get an Usohachi, which is gonna be pretty good. So we're gonna go 6s across the board here. We're gonna swing in for another 6, and then we're gonna cheat out a body on the board, which is gonna be the Enel to really filter the hand here. I think this is the best time for Enel, just because, I mean, we don't need Newgate. Newgate doesn't do anything, and drawing 2 and trashing 1 of these Newgates is going to be good. So I think no matter what, we're probably going to trash whatever option we got. Maybe we should have grabbed the Enel for later as another possible option. Sakazuki is definitely an option as well to go ahead and just trash. We're going to gain 1 rested and then play out that Enel we were talking about for so many minutes. We'll trash 1 of the Sakazukis, and we'll keep 1 just in case, and we'll get rid of 1 of the Limbs. I don't think we're going to need the Limb here. And then what we can do is pass to our opponent, use the Limb to restand herself, and then use this Limb to restand Sabo to continue drawing cards and gaining value. Now that we have a full board, we can lose our Limb 1-cost character. They play Sovereignty, which is going to remove 2 characters off the board, and it looks like they're really going for clearing up the options we have out. So good job by our opponent there. They don't have any hand manipulation, and they just give up. I don't know what it is on the sim today, but all people have just given up. I think we had the front runner seat there, but they were going to trash some of our life, but we were going to spam out board, so I think we were good. Blue Boa is definitely an option in the meta, so we're going to see what they can do here with Blue Boa. I definitely think this hand is looking, they're of course going first, so we're going second. So with us going second, we don't have any early options. We're going to mulligan that and look for the Limb. We do find the Limb, so that's going to be very good. We'll play Limb, pass, and restand Limb. So now next turn we can cheat out bodies, at least get something for the effect. Not that it's necessary here, if I'm honest with you, because what we can do is just swing in for 6 at our opponent. They'll give us a 2k counter, and then we'll be able to play Sabo for the next turn, and the next turn Enel. So I think that's going to be good to kind of curve there for us. Finding a 3-cost Limb would be very nice, but that's what the Enel is going to be for more than likely. So we'll just have to see what we can do. We're going to swing in aggressively. We may play on a Doflamingo if we draw a Doflamingo off the top, that rather than Sabo, just to have a blocker up as active and Limb stay active. All the options will be there on the board, so it'll show you the order of operations you have to have with this deck as well. So I think that's going to be very good. We could go ahead and Enel this turn, honestly, but then we have to put our Limb sideways, then we can't restand both. So that's kind of why I'm going for this option personally. So we're just going to swing in for 6 at our opponent, get a card out of hand, because Boa does counter out very aggressively. If they take, it's still not a bad option here. Probably just tells me they don't have 2Ks, which shows me they do. We're going to play out that Sabo after we gain 1 rested, pass, and restand Sabo. So Sabo should be safe. They would need to be able to bounce Sabo this early, which is a little more difficult for our opponent, just because they usually tap down and bounce 4 cost or lowers. So they may bounce our Limb just to have less rested characters on the board, forcing us to have to put down 2 characters on the board next turn, which then we can just replay Limb and then possibly play out something else. So they played on the 1-cost blocker law. They bounced the blocker law back. And then what we can do is actually use this limb effect. They can't swing out at our Sabo here, because it says if this character were to be removed by the board, you may instead rest this character. So we just took the Sabo down, and we're perfectly fine with that. So what we need to do is tap 1 here, it looks like, for our Apu. We need to find a way to get 3 rested characters. Okay, never mind, I'm stupid. Okay, let's actually math this out. So we're gonna swing in here. That's not gonna do anything. This needs 2 or more rested characters. So what we can do is tap out for 3, gain 1 rested, draw. We have to do it in this order, so before you guys start smack talking, we're gonna trash 1 of the limbs here because we don't need both, and we're gonna keep a Sakazuki. We're gonna drop a Mihawk. We're not gonna need 2 Mihawks in this matchup. Now we should have enough rested characters to swing in for 6 and draw another option. We'll have to play the limb here, so we're gonna swing in for another 6 at our opponent, which is also gonna be good. Just taxing them from 2k counters. They've already given us 2. They may give us 3. No, they decide to take, so they may be out of 2k counters. We're gonna play down limb. Limb's gonna search the top 5 cards of the deck, and we're going to grab, we already have a Doflamingo, we already have a Sakazuki, and a Mihawk's not necessary at this point, so I'd rather go for blockering up just in case. And then we're gonna pass, using Limb to restand Limb and Limb to restand Sabo. So now both of our amazing options are active. We may lose our little chump body, but that's okay at this point because we have such a wide board. So this is for the early game, and then you let it be removed after you get value out of its effect of being sideways for the Enel. That was the important part. So definitely good stuff here. We play Kyros to bounce Sabo. That's going to be very good for our opponent because Sabo is a very good card to continue drawing cards. They get to swing in for 5 into our board and then possibly 5 into our life if they do choose to. And I think we're going to take aggressively. I don't think that's the worst option. I don't think that's the best option. So we're going to play down Smoker, restand a Dawn, and go 3 and 3, it looks like. Or we can go into 6. So what we could do is Sakazuki. So we're going to swing in 5 at the board, and then we're going to go 6 at the board, and then we're going to Smoker and then Sakazuki. I think that's going to be the best option to really control the board, lower our hand size, and keep a strong face here. So 5, we're going to go 5, and then we're going to go 6. We're really going to try to tax their hand here. No matter what, we're moving 1 or 2 of these bodies to one of your opponent's characters that cost 5 or less. Yep. Now we're going to swing in for 6 at our opponent. They didn't want to give us any more cards. They want to take this life. So now we're going to play out Smoker. Then we're going to use the Smoker effect to restand at Dawn. And then we're going to play out Sakazuki, which is going to pop the Doflamingo blocker, and then we're going to pass restanding Limb because Limb restands herself. So we have a large hand size. Obviously, if our opponent does drop a pudding right now, that puts us in a bad spot. But I think I'm willing to take that risk and know that we're going to counter out now aggressively because we're trying to play on our own terms, not playing around what our opponent really has. So they double block her up. This is where the Apu comes in very strong. They get the bottom deck both our Smoker and our Sakazuki here with a Gravity Blade. They emptied out the hand of the Laws so that they can, draw cards, which is really good. And then I think we're really going to go for controlling board here. So we're going to give them a 1k counter. I think we're going to give them the Sabo. I think it's a little too late for Sabo, sadly. We do have an Enel coming in on the next turn, and then we're going to give them 2 2Ks here. So 2 and 2, that's going to be totally fine with me. So now we draw into another one, and we're just going to go in at face. I think there's no reason to try to go for board here. We could easily Apu, but then we lose our 2K counter, so I don't care for that option personally. At the moment, I don't think it's necessary. So we're going to 3-2, so we know we have 2 extra Dawn. We could continue to tax for 6s, which I'm not against because we've already seen, 2 2Ks. They've drawn a few cards, but we can continue to empty out their hand. We could put Sabo and Enel on the board here. So I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to continue taxing for 2Ks because we're going to be able to put down 2 bodies on the board, which is definitely going to be Enel for 1. We're going to swing in for another 6 here at our opponent, try to tax out another 2K or make them take a life or block out. If they're blocking out a 6Ks though, we're okay with that. We get to keep our Apu blocker for later. I really like that. So we're going to swing in for another 6 now at our opponent, and then we may go double Doflamingo. I actually don't mind double Doflamingo here, only because they restand themselves and it allows us to have a little more pressure later on, but Enel would not be bad. Drawing 3 and trashing 2 is very strong, but I don't think it's necessary at this point. I think we don't need to overdo it. We get to Limb effect first, then Doflamingo, then Doflamingo. So make sure to always use the Limb effect first. It's the most important part of the ability, is that you have to have 3 or more rested characters. So very good stuff by us. Now they can swing into our Enel again, but that time we just give it up, and then they swing into our life. We can just block or take, depending on what they play down. They could play a 10 drop that bounces 2 characters, so they could bounce a Doflamingo and a Limb. Nope. They do not have that as an option, it looks like. So they get to stack the top 5 cards of their deck with Don Quixote Doflamingo, in whatever order they need. They could Gravity Blade again, which would be kind of miserable, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Would be kind of miserable. So yep, it looks like that's exactly what they're gonna do. So we kind of went a little overboard there on the last turn. They're gonna swing 9 into a Nell. We're gonna have to let that go this time. Not gonna be able to save that, sadly, but we still have options. We still have things going on. So 5 into us, we will take this one. We get the Adio, which is a 2K counter, and then we can kind of choose where to go from here. So what we'll do is swing in for 5 at our opponent and then 7/7. We're gonna Enel Mihawk, I think, this turn. I think that's gonna be the best option. I hope they would take. Nope, no taking. They did have it, so that's good to know. Good to know here. So we need to leave 8 here just in case something goes on kind of crazy. We're gonna swing in for 7. We're gonna tap down for 5 here with Enel, drawing 2 and trashing 2, or drawing 3, trashing 2. Sakazuki, Edward Newgate is gonna be an amazing option here, so we can go ahead and tap down and KO the blocker, and then we can Draco Mihawk on the next turn, going for lethal. I actually like that a little more. So we're gonna trash 1 and 2. I don't think we're gonna need either of those at this point. And then we're going to gain Arrested Dawn, even though we cannot gain Arrested Dawn. And then we do have 2 more rested characters, so we'll rest and KO, passing turn, restanding Limb, and then next turn we can go for lethal with Limb if we need to. Depending on what their board and hand is like, it should be pretty easy to bounce this Limb and then remove both our board. So I really don't know. I think we've seen both their laws now. Yep, 2 laws out, putting out 2 Gravity Blades. It could easily have more Gravity Blades. Gravity Blade being so strong against Limb. So if you're playing a blue deck, that's the card you are searching for. We are going to have to give this, worst part is we don't have to give this up, but if we don't, we're kind of getting punished, I feel like, because they're going to bounce both these cards back to our hand, and that's going to be the issue with the tempo here, is that they are bouncing all of our cards back. But I think it's something we have to live with, that we're going to lose our whole board. I don't think countering out there really saves us, because then we have to just take a Hail Mary run at the Draco Mihawk, and that's not worth it. Definitely not, nothing's guaranteed there, and we still have 2 life, so I think giving that up in this position is okay. It shows that we're not in a strong position though, so keep that in mind as we continue this game. They look like they want to swing in for another 9. This one we may counter out of because they don't have anything else to play at the moment that would really take care of our board. So I will actually counter this. It may seem a little crazy, but it definitely is something we need to do, is keep the board. They only have 6 Dawns, so they can't tap out for another Gravity Blade, which is good. They can bounce Limb, but that allows us to search again. So I'm kind of okay with that. They decide to Red Rock instead. Red Rock being able to draw a card and remove one of our bodies on the board. So that's a thing. That is a thing. They don't have Rush in this deck. So what I'm thinking is the most advantageous way to stay alive for next turn. So we could Sabo Limb to restand Sabo to keep both bodies alive. Mihawk to swing in twice with Limb. So we'll go 5 at our opponent, and then we're gonna go 6 and 6, and then restand herself. Limb will restand Sabo. We could make Mihawk restand himself as well. We'll decide once we get there. Depends on what our opponent does here. They did just give us a 2K counter, showing me they may be low on 2K counters here. And then now what we can do is, yeah, we have to play down the Limb. We have to basically just empty out our hand and just be like, you don't have Rush. So we're gonna swing in for another 6 here. We're only doing 6s. I know that's not very much, but it's gonna tax our hand for 2 1Ks here. They should give us 2 1Ks in this position because they shouldn't have any more 2Ks based off how many they've given us. They may give us 1. Yep, they do have 1, that's okay. Now we're going to leader effect here, gaining none, putting out the Sabo on the board. So now Limb effect activates first. This Limb restands Sabo, and now we have 2 bodies on the board. They need to remove 1. They shouldn't have a Rush option here. That's my biggest worry. They could also easily remove our board going 5 into 0, 9 into 6, removes both bodies, and then Gravity Blade again. If they have another Gravity Blade, we are in a very, very bad spot, especially knowing we've already ditched one of our Mihawks here. So it is what it is. We do have a Mihawk in the trash already. So 8 into the board. Yep, you got it. Nothing I can do about that. They leave 7 active. It looks like another Gravity Blade turn. We're going to see it discard into the trash in just a moment. No Gravity Blade. Okay, good. They grab a Draco Mihawk of their own, a 9 cost. That bottom deck's a 7 cost. All right. Yep. 9, bottom deck's a 7. Pretty good stuff right there. They have 6 Dawn left as active. Yeah. Jozu, bounce Sabo, good stuff by our opponent. They get to draw an additional card for that effect there, so really good stuff. They swing in for 9 at us. We're gonna have to take aggressively. And now what do we do in this position? Personally, I think we swing in for 7. They should counter out of this. Now we tap 3 to play out a Nell. We're gonna trash 2. And then we're gonna go, how many 2Ks have we taxed? We may literally just have to go for, we haven't gotten a lot of 1Ks though, that's the only issue. We may just have to go for clearing the Kyros here because we don't have the counter to survive. There's nothing else we can really do. That's gonna be the only issue here, right? So we may literally just have to go 10 at Kyros and just hope they don't have 2K counter, but they definitely do in this position. So again, our opponent has just taken away our tempo, 2 1Ks. Yep, I knew they had to have some kind of counter. We swing him with Lim, so Lim will restand herself, Lim will restand a Nell, and that should probably just be game based off our opponent's math. They should just go 7, 7, 9, and then everything else on leader. It's simple math there, so we'll Lim effect first, other Lim stands up a Nell. If they know the game, they know you just go 7, get 2 cards, 9's guaranteed, and then everything else 15 at leader. GG's right there. So guaranteed lethal, guys. GG's to our opponent. Let's go on to the next deck because this one, it did not work with the tempo swings of Boa finding so many gravity blades. Not much you can do there, but it is what it is. They ended up having a red rock trigger anyway, so even if we went for the Mihawk with the Lim, we would have ended up losing anyway, so GG's to our opponent. Let's see how we do about against a centralized aggro deck. I mean, that's what I would say this deck is. Our opponent, of course, chooses to go first. We're going to keep this hand. We do have our Doflamingo, so we'll take it. We have our Lim to restand Lim. Do our usual stuff here. Of course, always remember to set your Lim as active. Our opponent's going to swing in for 6. We're going to take aggressively. They have 2 additional Dawn. They may play down a Reiju, 2 cost, play out another Reiju from hand, putting on a lot of aggro early in the board, and I like to see it. Good stuff by our opponent there. What we're going to do here is, no. We're going to swing in for 0, of course, because that's what Lim does, and then we'll tap 3 here. For our leader effect, well, we should probably swing in for 6. Our opponent first, because we are on the second curve, which is what we don't like to get, but we do get it a lot. We're going to go and ramp up 1 Dawn, and then play down a Doflamingo blocker pass. We're going to Doflamingo first, Lim second. That's very important because this has to have 2 or more rested characters, so if you restand Lim, you only have 1 rested character. Keep that in mind as we continue the game. We have a Chi-Ji here, Dawn -1, yep. Looks like it's going to be an all-out brawl from our opponent. So a Chi-Ji into, so Reiju, a Chi-Ji are going to be the swings this turn. We're going to go ahead and give them a, we're going to keep the Newgate. Newgate's going to be good. I don't think we're going to be able to use this Mihawk in the game, sadly. So I think we're going to have to block, or no, we're going to have to counter, block, or no, counter, take. I'd rather take the 7 than anything else. I don't want to counter out of anything else. So we'll give out a Draco Mihawk here for our opponent. And they're going to swing in with Reiju. Reiju we will counter out as well. It's hard to control our opponent's board here because of the strength of our opponent's deck. This is literally what the deck is built on. So we're going to give them an Adio here. It's going to be a better option. And then we're going to take the 7K swing into face. Getting another Newgate is not horrible. It's definitely not the option we need right now. Especially knowing that we only have a few additional Dawn. So how many rested characters do we need for Newgate? 2. Okay, so we can swing in for 7 into Reiju. If I look at this correct, we need to tap 3. We'll have 4. We don't have a 4 Dawn play, so we can easily swing in for 7 at Reiju. If our opponent chooses to counter out, we'll swing in again for another 7. Of course, they do not, which is probably the smart option. We're going to swing in for another 7. We're going to leave 1 active here. I know that may look weird, but it's what I'm feeling, so we're going to do it. We're going to gain 1 rested Dawn, and then we're going to cheat out that Newgate, resting down Porsche and KOing Porsche. We could have, of course, rested down Sanji, done something else, I don't know, but it definitely wasn't worth it. We're going to do the Doflamingo effect first, restand Newgate, keep the board alive, but our opponent's putting on a lot of aggression early, and we only have 4K counter, so use a Sora here. They're probably going to grab back into Chi-Ji. Yep, that's going to be a very strong option from our opponent. Now it looks like they have 3 Dawn active for another Porsche. Porsche is going to go Dawn -1. They get to draw a card for Porsche and draw a card for their leader effect, a 2K counter. Put out another Chi-Ji on the board. They're going to swing in for 5. Of course, we have to counter out. Saba's a little too slow for this matchup here. They're going to swing in for 7. We are going to take, and then we're going to have to block out of this next attack or counter. And I think countering out is going to be the better option. We're going to go 2K, 1K here against our opponent. And we're kind of stuck with the Smoker in hand. We could filter it out earlier with that Enel, but I don't think that strategy is really going to work. And it sucks because our opponent has such a strong board. We're going to go 9 into a Chi-Ji here. That's going to be the goal, is to KO this Chi-Ji. There's definitely other ways to do it. We know they have a 2K. More than likely, we do not get this removal. We do get the removal. That's going to be cool with me. So we're going to swing in for 5 on our opponent. We're going to be okay to swing in a little more aggressively here. What's our math? So we're only playing down 1 character. I guess we can just tap out for 5. We could just tap out for 3 because we can. We could tap down 5 for Smoker, restand 1 Dawn. Actually, I like that because, I mean, it's no counter anyways. Our opponent doesn't know that, but now they know we don't have the counter. Now we're going to swing in for 6. We should have done this first, actually, as usual. We did misplay it there. So we're going to go ahead and let that go. They're going to counter out of that one. We're going to gain a Rested Dawn, which obviously we don't actually do. We're going to rest down the Porsche, KO the Porsche. And now we're in a much better spot here. So we're going to Doflamingo effect first, Limb effect on the Newgate. It doesn't really matter which one, but now we have the Smoker. We still have 2K counter. This is very simple math for our opponent usually, but with us being able to have 2Ks and we have a blocker, that we need some way to get through the blocker first, so we can take a little aggressively here against our opponent. But we're still in a strong spot. We still have a Doflamingo blocker. They shouldn't have a way to rest down our blocker, of course, because they are only on 4 Dawn. They tap 2, go Dawn -1, they minus the power of our Doflamingo. So we're definitely going to be losing Doflamingo this turn, and we're going to be going down to 0 life. So we have to keep that in mind. We can counter out of this pretty easily. We'll give them a 1K counter. And then if they swing in for 7, we may actually take it and leave our Doflamingo on the board. So I just am kind of undecided because we need to put some pressure in at our opponent. They choose to swing in for 6 into Newgate. We'll actually just let Newgate go because Doflamingo is doing the same thing as what Newgate would. So we're kind of okay with that. This KO is a 5 cost or lower character, so doesn't really do too much for us in this position, in my opinion. So we're going to swing in for 6 at our opponent. We're trying to just get 2 rested characters here. We're going to play out both of these bodies actually on the board, so we're going to be able to tap down for 6 and KO the Chopper just to get some removals so that our Banish should go through here. And we'll be able to set 1 Dawn as active, so we'll swing in for 7 at our opponent with the Banish hopefully going through, which it does. And then we'll be able to swing in for, what? 6, and then we were going to be able to swing in for 6 right there at our opponent. They couldn't counter out. We were going to swing in for 7 and then develop another blocker. So we would have 2 blockers on the board. I don't know that we would have really won or lost. But yeah, it was kind of hard to say in that situation. Our opponent was only going to 6 Dawn, and they didn't have any draw power options. They would only be on 6, so they would have to swing in for 5, 7, 6, which actually technically would have won if they would have gone for game that way because we didn't have counter here, but they didn't really have any options. So GG's to our opponent. We're on to the next one. Let's see how we do against Red-Green Smoker. This is a deck we're going to cover very soon because it does pretty well into Green-Purple Luffy. Our opponent chooses to go first, of course, because we never get to choose for ourselves. We're going to look at this hand. I don't like it too much. I don't like this hand actually at all. So we're going to see what we can do with it. We do have the Top Knot event, which may come in handy against Smoker. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Nothing to do for 2 Dawn. We may actually just rest down their character just to get a body on the board. But then it just gets removed from the swing back, so not worth it, sadly. But it may get us our ability to draw 3, trash 2 from Monae, because we can play this down next turn and then play down Monae. Do our usual stuff there. But it's definitely options. Not great options, but it's options. We're going to take the 6K swing into face, and now we're going to actually remove that. I don't like Monae. Let me tell you right now, I do not like Monae. So we're going to swing 5 into our opponent here, and our goal is to pop the Monae here. So we're going to play down Scratchman and Poo, choose to rest down. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I guess we could have removed both options off the board, but we could have actually done that. Oh, that would have been so much better. Play this, rest, pop, call it a day. So what we could have done is actually played the Apu, swing into Monae, and then decide what to do from there. We could have nailed this turn, so a slight bit of a misplay on my part, but hey, it is what it is. Our opponent's going to get rushed into face. Nope, into the board. So 7 into board. We're actually going to give a 2K because they won't have any more swings into our board after this. We're going to be able to keep our Newgate for sure. Oh wait, they get to restand 2 Dawn. Very good stuff by us. We're very good competitive players here on the channel. They will get Smoker effect, restand 2 Dawn. We don't have an additional 2K counter to hand them, so we're just gonna lose out on what's about to happen. Hey, 7 at our board. I'm not gonna give you 2 cards. Didn't think it really through, did I? We could play down a 5-cost Smoker here, restand 1 Dawn. We're only swinging into their small bodies here, so not too much to do, sadly. And then we're gonna be able to tap 3 for the Enel, because we need to filter the hand a good little bit. So tap 3, gain arrested Dawn, Enel, draw 3, trash 2. So we're gonna trash this. We're gonna keep the Sakazuki, and we're actually gonna remove the Top Knots here. I don't think we need 2 Top Knots. I don't think we need any at all. Again, I don't care for that card personally. Now we do have a 2K counter. We do have a Sakazuki to remove some board. They're gonna be able to restand 5 Dawn here. 5 Dawn is kind of crazy, so keep that in mind that our opponent is going all freaking out. We will be able to KO the Smoker this turn with the Sakazuki. This is the big goal, is to have that Sakazuki effect active. So, well, we don't have double Sakazukis here, sadly. Our opponent's going to swing 7 and then 7. We're actually going to, I guess we just let this one go and then counter out of the Smoker swing, or take the Smoker swing into face if they swing face. Yeah, we're going to actually take that. Crazy enough, we are going to take that aggressively. And now we're sitting on a nice little 10-piece nugget here. So we could go 7 into face here, banish a life out of their board, and then we'll be able to tap out, what? let's think about this. 6 plus 3, we'd have 2 additional Dawn. So we could go 7 into Luffy just to get a card out of hand. Not really worry about the Luffy. Tap 6, restand 1. I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to try to force 2Ks out of hand, remove some hand options. They definitely have a 2K in hand, so you'll see it drop right now. And then we're going to go straight face, go ahead and banish a life out of them. And then we're going to tap 6 for the Sakazuki, pop one of the smokers, pop this one, we'll restand a Dawn as active, and then we're going to tap out, gain arrested Dawn, even though we don't gain arrested Dawn. And then a freeze option would be great here. I think we need to go Enel. I think it's a little too late for Sabo, but Sabo would put pressure of needing to remove Sabo, but I don't know. I kind of like the filtering for some more counter, but I think we're going to go Sabo and then pass to our opponent. So this is going to put a little more pressure on our board being strong because we get to draw additional cards with Sabo. So if they just ignore it, the Smoker needs to swing board, especially if we can save the board before the Smoker. Now they do have Eustace Captain Kidd, which is very obnoxious for our deck, and this is when we need Gamma Knife. So imagine we had Gamma Knife in this situation rather than Top Knot, we would have kept it and then be able to clear out the board a little bit better. So 7, we may let this go. They have 3 Dawn, they get to restand. Did they already restand 2? They're on 9, they tapped out for 8, they did already restand for 2, so they could go very hefty into a different character. They need to give 1 to the Kid here, and then they'll have 2, so they could go 9. So I think we have to let Sabo go, sadly, because they're going to probably go 9 into our one of our options on the board. They still have not restood 1 for Smoker here, so we did just notice that. They rest down the Eustace Captain Kidd for the TCG effect. Now it looks like they get to play out a Rosinante. And now they could just go 7 into face with the Smoker, which is probably a little more pressure than going into board at this point. So a 6 into face, this 7 into face. So we did the counter out of, 8. We do not like because we don't have 2 2Ks. So, 8 into Smoker. Now that's a misplay and a half in my opinion. They should have definitely gone face there. They have a full board and a lot of pressure. I don't think that was the best option. And then 6 or 5 at us, we're sadly, if we take though, we just lose on the clapback. So we're not going to need Sabo anymore, sadly. It's going to be a little too late for that. We need some kind of removal here. We don't get it, but we do have a Scratch Manapu. But the issue is we have to swing first. So what we could do is go 10 into Kid, tap 3. We'd have to rest and pop to Shigi. That's the only issue. And then we can't Mihawk because this is an Odyssey type. This is, but it's 5 costs or lower. So that doesn't really help us. Could go 10-10, tap 3 for Newgate. Let's just go 10 into Kid and see what happens here. See what our opponent decides to do here. I think that's going to be the best option because we can go 10-10 and then Newgate just to keep a larger hand size. We could also restand a Dawn. So now we're going to, we could tap out for 3, gain arrested, that doesn't do anything. But then Newgate, rest KO, and then could just go in for 8. Understand that we're not going to remove it because no matter what, I feel like we lose in the clapback, right? But we're not guaranteed to lose in the clapback, so what we can do here is just go 10. Hopefully it gets removed. We'll have to decide based off what they counter out with or if they counter out at all. They, of course, choose not to, and then we could either go 6 in a board or we could go 6 or leave the 1 active. I think we need to go into board here, sadly, and really put the pressure on our opponent. We did at least remove 3 of their bodies there, and then we're getting a card out of hand because they definitely should counter out if they can. If they can't counter out of this, it tells us a lot of info. And they choose to counter out, telling us they are probably going for lethal on this next turn. So we pass it over to our opponent, and this is going to be a tough one. Not going to lie to you guys, a 100% tough matchup here for us. We're sitting on 4K counter. They play Vergo to search the top 4 cards of the deck for a Punk Hazard type character. Good job by our opponent there. Basically a free searcher at the end of the day. So keep that in mind with Vergo. They get a Tony Chopper, so now they can tap 4 for Tony Chopper. Restand 3 Dawn. They only use 2 to get a blocker and a Vergo on the board to search the top of the deck. And then put pressure into face because they're not worried about losing. Instead, they choose Hody Jones. I don't like that play, but I like it. It's hard to say because now you cancel Tony Chopper. You can literally just swing in 5, 7, 7, something like that. And they go 9 at us with Banish. We're going to just let that go. Go ahead and take the Banish. We lose a 1K. It is what it is. Now, we don't really have a way to get out of that swing because if we do, then they just have guaranteed lethal no matter what. So they're going to swing in for 9 more here. And we need to be able to find, a 2K? This has to be a 2K basically, or we lose no matter what because we can't counter out of a 9 anyway, so we have to take. It is not a 2K, and here's why we lose. So it's mathematically impossible to win because we 2K, 1K, 1K, 1K. They still have a 5K leader swing, and that's going to be a guaranteed lethal for our opponent. GG's, that was still a close one. We actually would have won on the clapback, but GG's to the Smoker player. That was a fun one. That's going to be it today for Green Purple Limb. It wasn't my best showing with a leader that I haven't really played much of. Usually I can pick it up and put it down pretty well, but purple is a little different, and that deck list itself wasn't the perfect deck list. I don't care for the top knot, it's just one we got offline, so definitely going to be changing some things around. Let me know your comments down below, and I'll see you in the next deck profile.